Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a BrakeMaster cylinder stopper. I'll go into that a little bit, but first thing I want to talk about is how well the car did. It was really fun on Sunday, driving the car at that autocross event, kind of exploring the characteristics of the car and how she drives. It was really fun finding out as I'm braking hard into a corner and turn in, the car is kind of kicking out a little bit, which is kind of characteristic of the car, I guess. Wow, I have no idea what I'm talking about. The car felt really fun. It was that hard in brake and then turn in, slowly let off the brake, kind of bringing that rear end out, which helped with I wouldn't say turn in response, helped me turn in the car and not understeer so much into the corner, kind of bring it out and rotate it, especially under throttle. That was another thing that was really fun to learn about how to drive the car, is playing with the throttle, even though I knew it would kind of understeer into corners as I'd apply more throttle, kind of figuring out where those limits are. I knew it wasn't going to be the fastest on Sunday out there with that BMW E30 and Guillermo with his sticky tire MR2. Someday I'll catch up to you guys. Let's see what else about the car. Being able to play with the tuning characteristics of the car with the adjustable dampers that I have on here, the adjustable D2 coilovers, really fun to play with. First and foremost, full soft at the very beginning. I went in wanting to go full soft and full stiff just to see what it would be like. I think the easiest way to be able to tune this car as a beginner novice is to go kind of into those extremes and then see what works and what doesn't, and then dialing it in from there rather than making small adjustments to see what the car does and how you'll react to it. I think that worked out best because started off full soft with my parade lap going into there. Immediately knew that was going to be way too soft. The car was bouncing all around on that uneven pavement. As soon as I turned it up a bit more stiffer, I knew it was going to be a little bit more responsive. So that was pretty cool. Definitely gave me a lot of understeer though, going much more stiff in the front than it was in the rear. I knew it would do that, but I thought with the low grip setup and the rear drive axle might help with that overdrive tendency that this car has. So I think at the end we dialed into about 16 clicks out of 32 stiff in the rear, and then 20 clicks stiff up front. And that was about perfect for the way that I wanted to drive the car. Obviously there's a lot more to be had if I threw some sticky tires on this car, but we're going to journey on with the low grip all seasons that we have for now. One thing that did concern me though was the fact that my oil pressure was great from what I saw in the video. It was about, well, it was holding above 10 most of the time, which seems low to a lot of you V8 guys out there, you and your like 40 psi pressure at idle. Factory specs on this car calls for like 11 to 12 once it's fully warmed up of psi once you're sitting at idle. And I think after all of those runs that we did, getting the car really hot, the oil looked great. Coolant temperatures were at about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Oil temps really didn't reach 180 degrees until maybe I left for the day afterward. But once we started to get into those higher temps, oil pressure was sitting at about 9 psi, right below 10. Makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm running 10W30 Mobil 1 synthetic in this car. I'm not here to start any oil weight wars. There's been plenty of threads about all that. But I figured I'd share what I run in my car and what I've been running in my car for a while now. Man, this video is all over the place, I'm so sorry. This engine right here is a mildly built SR20, 4-inch internals, bigger cams and whatnot. And I've been running Mobil 1 synthetic 10W30 all throughout summer, winter. This is the first season that I've been racing the car, putting it under really sustained, hard driving. So what I'm gonna do, especially during the warm winter months, is I think I'm going to upgrade to well, not a 10W30 at least. That's what I had before. I think I'm going to step it up to a 5W40. It should be much thicker at warmer temps, and with that 5W rating it should flow a little better at cold startups. That way hopefully it'll minimize some engine wear at those startup intervals. Hopefully it will minimize some startup wear when I'm starting this car. I don't drive this car a whole lot anymore, but I think the 5W40 should be a good way to go. I'll kind of keep an eye on how things, we'll see what happens, what the pressures are at this first start. So let's get to draining the oil first and foremost. It used to look real pretty under this cart. Had a fresh engine build. Everything was nice, clean, silver, what have you. Now it's just a sweaty, oily mess. Kind of makes me sad. I would love to take the car out and re-gasket it up. Seal up all the oil leaks that we have on this car. But kind of a broke boy right now. So I don't want to take it apart until I've got some money, and we'll fully do up everything then once I have to take it apart. But that's not going to happen for quite some time now. All right, she's loose. She's leaking. Let's see if I can get this without making a big mess or burning myself. Can't see anything. Ooh. She actually looks pretty clean right now. Oh! Oh, it's messy. It's hot. Well, the oil looks really clear though. Really curious. I just want to grab a sample. What does she look like? There's no way I'm grabbing that. Ooh! That is one hot HKS oil cap. Okay, so while the oil is draining, I guess I can go ahead and dive into the brake master cylinder stopper. But before I dive into that, I'm going to go ahead and touch on the brake setup on this S13. We're running Z32 30mm calipers up front and Z32 calipers in the rear with the drum brake, e-brake setup. I'm still running the stock S13 master cylinder with the S13 booster, so I believe it's a 7/8 cylinder with the stock bias that comes with all of that and everything. I do have a aftermarket, I believe it's a 1 1/16 master cylinder that I can install. I'm kind of waiting to do that because I've heard that once you go to that bigger master cylinder, your pedals get a bit more of a stiffer feel, though the travel is way less than what it is now. I have a really soft pedal with this current setup. I don't mind it so much. Because I used to daily drive this car a whole lot, and I would find that I could lock up the brakes really well if I wanted to. Though I know that's not the best route for racing. I'm going to keep pushing with this master cylinder and see where it takes me. I haven't had any problems even with these all-season tires. I'm surprised they haven't locked up on me yet. But what I'm going to do is install this master cylinder stopper, which is going to place the master cylinder in place so it's not flexing on me on these cars. These cars have a really flexible firewall where they're mounted at with that brake master cylinder mounted to the firewall. That was really dumb. These cars have a bit of a flexible firewall right at where the master cylinder is mounted to, so having this stopper there is going to hopefully fix any flex that master cylinder has there, so it's going to take out any slop that's there and give me a bit more of a consistent pedal feel. Not that I'm sure I'll be able to really feel that in an autocross course. I don't think I have enough runs under me to really feel out that difference that it's making there. But hopefully it's going to help a little bit. And it's a cheap mod, really easy to do, so why not go ahead and do it? I'm going to go ahead and show you what that flex looks like now. Alright, so here's me pushing on the brake pedal. Really hard there. Now this problem would probably become more inherent if I went with the bigger master cylinder up front, as it will stiffen up my brakes quite a bit. But I still imagine this stopper should help. So here's another angle of the master cylinder movement when I push on the brake pedal. Looking at the footage, it's got to be a combination of the booster as well, seeing as the master cylinder is not directly mounted to the firewall, just indirectly through that booster we have there, so that's probably got a bit to do with it. Either way, this master cylinder stopper that we're going to install should help out with any slop that we're getting here. Alright. Pretty simple kit that shouldn't take any time at all to install. Well, I'm a bit of a sad boy because it turns out this isn't going to fit like I was hoping it would. I've been holding on to this part for like 2 years now. Never got around to installing it, but I figured now that I'm racing, might be a good time to do that, but it doesn't really matter because it's not going to fit. Now where the master cylinder stopper goes is in this area right here against the firewall, which pushes against this brake master cylinder and keeps it from flexing as you're pushing down on the pedal. Naturally, with my turbo replacement that I had, I put a new turbo outlet on here, which brought this pipe out a few inches, and it's causing some interference, so this plate for the brake master cylinder stopper just is not going to fit right here. At least not in the proper mounting locations. Rubber's in the way, and it's going to rub quite a bit here. And here's another view for you if you couldn't see that before. Just is not going to work because of the interference that we're having on this coupler right here. It's too bad, but it wasn't going to make a huge difference for me. I'm not winning any races yet. Oh well. It's really not the way I wanted this video to go. I was really excited about installing this part here, but I figure if it doesn't work for me because of what I did to the modifications on my turbo outlets, I figured I'd share it with you guys in case you were looking at picking one of these up. If you've got the stock outlet, no worries to you. You'll probably have plenty of room there, as GK Tech does make this stuff to work with their cars. They do a lot of testing in that, but they don't test for all parts, so just a little bit too big. Too bad. We still got an oil change to do. So oil's in the car, new filter and everything. Took it around the block, got it up to operating temperature, which is really hard to do, surprisingly. If I'm just cruising around town, not driving on the highway on a really hot day, this car only gets its oil temperatures up to like 165, and really it should be around the 180 degree range, but not sure what it is. This car just runs really cool. It could be where the temperature sensor is at in my oversized oil pan. It's kind of in one of those places where all the baffled oil sits, so I'm not sure if all the temperature is getting to that little spot over there. I'm sure it is. I'm no thermodynamic whiz about all this stuff, so just take it for what it is. Temperature, operating temperatures got where they needed to be, and the pressures are way better with this 5W40 that I'm now running rather than the old 10W30. With the 10W30 at my hottest operating temps, at idle, the oil pressure would be right at 10 PSI, just under, sometimes 9. I should preface this all by saying this Defi oil pressure gauge that I'm running is way more accurate than the electronic odometer one that I was running before. The odometer gauge was an electronic gauge that had a 90-degree window where the needle would swoop back and forth to tell me what my pressures are. And when that 90 degrees ranges from 0 to 100, it's not all that easy to tell how accurate it is. So really happy to have this Defi gauge in here. It's a lot more accurate. I'm sure there's more accurate gauges out there, but having that, 270 degree needle range, you can just have a lot more precision in how you're trying to read that gauge. So with this new 5W40 oil that we put in here, the oil pressure sits at about 15 PSI, which is 3 more PSI than the factory spec in the manual, the shop manual for these SR20 DET engines. Like I said before, the shop manual specification at idle when warm is 11 to 12, which sounds like nothing compared to you V8 guys out there who are sitting at like 40 PSI at idle. It's just the way these engines run, believe me. I could definitely go with a thicker oil if I wanted to, especially during these summer months. But I think I'm going to start running this 5W40 over the 10W30 in winter, just because it's got those better flow properties, should have those better flow properties with the lower 5W winter rating over the 10W30. A lot of technical speak there, so hopefully your mind's already accustomed to those oil weights and what they mean and whatnot, but I'm not going to explain it because there's people who do it better than me. Other than being happy about that oil change, it's really a bummer that I couldn't get to installing this brake master cylinder stopper. After watching the footage, it doesn't look like the cylinder moves around a whole lot when I'm really hard on the brake. The brake setup that I'm running currently, there's a lot of softness and there's a lot of modulation that I can apply in there, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Having that minuscule amount of play with that master cylinder stopper, it's not going to be something that I can tell in my first few times of driving this car hard on the track. So I could, if I really wanted to, probably try to grind this bracket down so that I can get it installed, but I feel like that kind of defeats the whole purpose of installing this thing, because it should be quite rigid when you're installing it so that that cylinder doesn't move around at all. So I may hold on to it for a project later down the road, may sell it to a friend, who knows. Let me know if you want one, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this little video, guys. Sorry I kind of stammered on everywhere, really unorganized. I'm just trying to do better about filming the incremental steps that I've been taking with this car. I've been changing a lot of little stuff and not filming it, but that means I don't put out any content for you guys, and I don't know, maybe you'll get something out of these small little videos. So I don't think we'll have another autocross event until October at Heartland Park anyway. We might catch one at Kansas City if we're lucky. It'll be a long time of not racing. I've really got the bug right now, trying to get out there and really push my limits, the car's limits, trying to explore, you know, the whole driving dynamic and see where I can improve. I think that's been a lot of fun. It's really looking forward to what else we can do with this car. Anyway, I've gone on for long enough. Hope you guys got something out of this video. I'll catch you next time. Have a great day.